You ever have that feeling? You walk into a room. You haven't said a word. You haven't even done anything. And yet, everything just shifts. The whole energy changes. People might get quiet, maybe they look away, or, a colleague suddenly starts over-explaining some simple decision you never even asked about. If any of that sounds familiar, well, you're in the right place.
It's a really unsettling experience, right? You were just being you, and somehow your mere presence was enough to change the entire dynamic of the room. It can leave you scratching your head, wondering, what did I do wrong? Or why do people react to me like this?
So what is actually happening here? Let's get into it, because there's a fascinating psychological reason for this whole phenomenon. And I promise you, it's probably not what you think. The answer lies in a different kind of power, one you likely have without ever even realizing it.
Yeah, we're going to need to tear down a really common myth. See, most of us, when we hear the word intimidation, we think of aggression. We think of someone who's loud, someone who's demanding attention. But that is not the kind of presence we're talking about today. Not even close.
Okay, so here's the difference. The myth is all about force. It's about being noisy and taking up space on purpose. But the reality, the one that might be happening to you, is about something else entirely. It's a quiet presence, a kind of gravity that naturally draws attention instead of demanding it with a megaphone.
Psychologists actually have a term for this, and it's pretty wild. They call it nonverbal psychological dominance. Now, I know, that sounds super intense, right? But all it really means is that you project this quiet power simply because you're self-contained. You aren't looking around the room for approval, and on an unconscious level, people really pick up on that.
And if you're wondering just how powerful this is, get this. The psychologist Albert Mehrabian found that a whopping 55% of all our communication is nonverbal. 55%. That means your body language, your energy, your presence, it's all communicating long before you ever open your mouth. So how does this quiet power actually show up in the real world? We're about to break down the 7 most common signs. And as we go through these, just ask yourself, hey, does that sound like me?
All right, here's our roadmap. We're going to cover everything from not needing approval and being totally cool with silence to the weird way people over-explain things to you, and stick around because some of these might really, really surprise you. Let's jump in with the first sign.
So, number 1, there is something deeply unsettling to some people about a person who genuinely doesn't need their validation. Think about it. After you give a presentation, you're not fishing for compliments. When you share an opinion, you're not scanning the room to see if everyone nods along. It's not arrogance, it's not being cold. You're just solid on your own. And in a world that runs on likes and social feedback, that self-containment just reads as a rare and formidable strength.
Okay, picture this. You're in an elevator, or there's a pause in a meeting. Most people get super antsy. They rush to fill that quiet with small talk because, frankly, silence makes them anxious. But not you. You can just be in it. To you, it feels totally calm, totally normal. But to someone else, that stillness can feel completely unreadable. And what people can't read, they often find threatening.
Oh man, this one is so common. You ask a simple, curious question. Something like, oh interesting, how'd you decide on that design? And what you get back is a 5-minute monologue justifying every choice, talking about brand synergy and market research. You weren't judging them, but something about your calm presence makes people feel like they're suddenly on trial, so they rush to defend themselves from a verdict you were never going to give. Now this one is all about intent. You're not trying to win a staring contest, it's not a power move. You hold eye contact because you are genuinely listening. You're engaged, you're present. But that level of directness can make someone feel intensely seen. It's like their usual social mask just became transparent. And let me tell you, not everyone is comfortable with that kind of exposure.
Think about how people usually say no. It's a whole performance, right? It's, oh, I would absolutely love to, but I have this other thing and I'm so sorry. They give a million reasons. But you might just say, no, I can't make that work. It's not harsh, it's just clear. But that kind of clean, unapologetic boundary is so rare that it can really throw people who are used to doing the whole song and dance.
Because you're often quiet, you're also a natural observer. You're picking up on the little things, the tiny hesitation in someone's voice, the way their posture shifts. And people who are kind of performing or wearing a social mask, they can feel that. They feel like your quiet awareness is seeing right through their act and that their carefully built facade is slipping, even if you aren't judging them one bit.
And here we are.
This last one, this might just be the key that unlocks the whole thing. It's possible that behind that calm exterior, you're someone who processes the world with incredible depth. Psychologists call this high sensory processing sensitivity. All it means is that your nervous system is wired to be more attuned to all the subtleties. You're taking in way more information than the average person, so your presence just carries this weight, because that depth is felt by others, even if they have no idea why.
Okay, so everything we've just talked about sounds like a strength, right? And it absolutely is, but here's the paradox. Here's the difficult flip side of that coin. The exact same qualities that give you this quiet power can also be incredibly isolating. It can be a really profound and lonely experience.
This right here, this is the heart of the struggle. So often, the people who have this effect are the ones who feel the most misunderstood. You walk through the world just wondering why connection feels a little harder, or why people seem to keep you at arm's length. Your greatest, most natural strength can sometimes feel like the very source of your loneliness.
And here's the reason why, and this is so important, so listen close. It's not about you, it's about them. When people can't easily figure you out, when they can't put you in a neat little box, you become a blank screen. And onto that screen, they project their own stuff, their own insecurities, their fears, their past experiences. Your unreadability becomes a mirror for their own anxiety.
So, where does that leave us? What's the big takeaway here? It really starts by reframing this entire experience, because the verdict on who you are is probably completely different from the story you've been telling yourself all these years.
Let's just be crystal clear about this. All those labels you might have put on yourself, or maybe you've heard from other people, that you're too much, or difficult, or cold, they're just wrong. They are misinterpretations of your depth. They are the wrong words for something that is actually really rare and valuable. Here's the ultimate truth of it. You were never trying to intimidate anyone. You just stayed real in a world that rewards performance. You stayed present when everyone else was distracted. You stayed quiet when everyone else was shouting. You didn't shrink yourself down or sand off your edges just to make other people feel more comfortable. And that authenticity, that is the most powerful presence of all. That's what quietly commands a room.
So, as we wrap this up, I want to leave you with this question to just mull over. Which of these 7 signs felt the most like you were looking in a mirror? Because understanding your own unique presence isn't about trying to change it, it's about